In the frigid February of 1968, the Soviet Pacific Fleet's submarine base at Rybachi on the Kamchatka Peninsula was a hub of silent, purposeful activity. The K-129, a Project 629A Gulf II class diesel-electric submarine, was preparing for its third routine missile patrol. Commanded by Captain First Rank Vladimir Kobzar, the submarine was a symbol of Soviet strategic might, armed with 3 SSN-4 Sark ballistic missiles, each tipped with a 1-megaton nuclear warhead. 98 Soviet sailors and officers boarded the vessel for a scheduled 90-day patrol in the vast expanse of the North Pacific. On February 24, 1968, the K-129 cast off. It radioed a routine status report after a test dive and set its course southeast toward its patrol station near the 40th parallel, northeast of Hawaii. Its mission was simple: be ready to launch its deadly payload against the western United States if World War III ignited. Then, silence. The K-129 failed to transmit its scheduled radio contact upon crossing the 180th meridian. Soviet Naval Command initially dismissed it as a minor equipment malfunction. But as days turned into a terrifying week, and then 2, alarm bells began to clang throughout the Soviet High Command. The nuclear deterrent, the most powerful weapon of the Pacific Fleet, had vanished. What followed was a frantic, desperate search, a massive air and sea operation spanning millions of square miles of ocean. The Soviets searched where the submarine should have been, along the projected route toward the patrol zone. After 2 months of fruitless searching, the Soviet Navy was forced to concede the unimaginable. The K-129 was officially declared lost with all hands. The Kremlin absorbed the catastrophe in absolute secrecy, never publicly acknowledging the loss of a nuclear-armed submarine and 98 lives. The cause of the sinking would forever remain contested. Was it an internal hydrogen explosion, a catastrophic mechanical failure of the snorkel system, or, as some Soviet officers later suspected, a collision with an undetected American submarine? Whatever the cause, the K-129 lay crippled and broken on the abyssal plain, its secrets and its nuclear missiles entombed in darkness. Unknown to the Soviets, an enemy far more sophisticated than any reconnaissance aircraft had been listening the entire time. In the height of the Cold War, the U.S. Navy had created one of its most secretive and effective intelligence assets, the SOSUS system, or the Sound Surveillance System. This vast submerged network of hydrophones, anchored to the continental shelf and the deep ocean floor, was designed to do one thing: track every movement of the Soviet submarine fleet. The Soviets were masters of silent running, but no technology is perfectly quiet.
In the days following the K-129's disappearance, analysts at the U.S. naval facilities in Adak, Alaska, began sifting through the SOSUS recordings. After meticulous analysis, they found it: a single, brief, non-natural acoustic signature. It was the sound of a massive implosion, the terrifying sound of a hull collapsing inward under the weight of 3 miles of ocean, followed by the faint rumble of debris hitting the sea floor. U.S. intelligence analysts, using triangulation data from 4 different SOSUS arrays, painstakingly narrowed down the area of the disaster. While the Soviets searched in the wrong quadrant hundreds of miles to the west, the Americans had pinpointed the true wreckage site, approximately 1,560 miles northwest of Hawaii, at a depth of over 16,000 feet. The discovery was a nuclear intelligence coup. The submarine was lying in international waters. The U.S. intelligence community realized they held a golden ticket. The K-129 carried the R-21, SSN-4 nuclear missiles, and more importantly, the cryptographic machines and code books, the holy grail of intelligence. Access to these codes would allow the U.S. to read all Soviet naval communications, effectively blinding their entire Pacific Fleet. The decision was immediate. The prize must be recovered. To verify the SOSUS data, the CIA dispatched the highly classified nuclear-powered attack submarine USS Halibut, SSN 587. The Halibut had been specially modified into an extraordinary deep-sea reconnaissance vessel, equipped with powerful underwater thrusters, high-resolution cameras, and a specialized fish capable of descending to extreme depths. For weeks, the Halibut conducted a meticulous grid search of the abyssal plain. Finally, its deep-towed camera system brought back irrefutable evidence. The photographs were chilling. The K-129 lay broken in two major pieces, having slammed into the muddy black basalt bottom. The sub's pressure hull was imploded, its sails snapped off, and its nuclear missiles were still partially intact within their launch tubes. It was a massive steel coffin, but it was also the single greatest intelligence target of the Cold War.
The reconnaissance work by the USS Halibut was complete, confirming the K-129's location in agonizing detail. Now the true mind-bending challenge began. How do you lift a 1,750-ton section of wreckage, a mangled, pressure-warped piece of steel containing nuclear warheads and cryptographic codes, from a depth of 16,500 feet, 3.1 miles? The project's internal name was Project Azorian, and it fell under the purview of the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology. The agency immediately realized that conventional salvage was impossible. The pressure at that depth is over 7,000 pounds per square inch, enough to crush a tank. Any standard cable would snap under the weight. Any deep submergence vehicle would be too weak. They needed a radical, unprecedented engineering solution. The CIA assembled a crack team of engineers and deep-sea specialists, many of whom had previously worked on the high-stakes Corona spy satellite programs. They settled on a concept that seemed to belong in a science fiction novel. They would design a massive, stable surface ship with a central, retractable bay, a moon pool, from which a heavy-duty drill string, like those used for oil drilling, would be lowered. Attached to the end of that mile-long pipe would be a colossal mechanical grappling device, a gigantic claw built specifically to cradle and lift the broken hull of the Soviet submarine. The plan was so immense, so technologically complex, that its sheer audacity became its own shield. No one, least of all the Soviets, would believe the Americans would attempt such a thing. Technical difficulty was only half the problem. The sheer size of the operation made secrecy impossible. A specialized ship of this scale could not be built and deployed without attracting the attention of every intelligence agency and newspaper on Earth. The CIA needed a cover story, one so convincing, so bizarre, and so perfectly tailored to distract the world that it would endure years of construction and weeks of open ocean operation. The answer lay in the eccentric billionaire who loved technology, hated the public eye, and was himself a walking distraction: Howard Hughes. The industrialist, aviation pioneer, and film mogul had recently retreated into a reclusive life, controlling his vast empire through an inner circle. The CIA successfully pitched the operation to him not as a spy mission, but as a breakthrough private business venture. The public story would be that Hughes was funding a revolutionary effort to harvest manganese nodules, potato-sized mineral-rich clumps lying on the ocean floor, to solve the world's resource crisis. The cover story was genius. 1. Justification for the ship. A ship built to dredge nodules from 16,000 feet needed to be massive, stable, and capable of handling an elaborate pipe string, precisely what the CIA's salvage operation required. 2. The Tycoon's eccentricity. If the ship looked strange, well, that's just Howard Hughes being Howard Hughes. His reputation provided a plausible deniability that made the bizarre project seem normal. 3. Appealing to the press. Deep-sea mining was a hot topic in the 1970s. The story was compelling enough that the media would chase the mining angle, ignoring the true, classified purpose. Hughes lent his name and his company, the Summa Corporation, to the project. The CIA funneled hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars into the construction, cloaked entirely under the guise of commercial exploration. The building site was the Sun Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company in Chester, Pennsylvania. The vessel that emerged was a technological marvel, an almost futuristic behemoth designed by CIA engineers and named the Glomar Explorer. The vessel was enormous, 618 feet long, displacing 50,000 tons. Its key features were unprecedented. The moon pool, a massive bay, 199 feet long, 75 feet wide, cut directly through the center of the ship's hull. This huge internal dock, which could be sealed off from the ocean by massive hydraulically operated doors, was the key to secrecy. The entire salvage operation would take place inside the ship, hidden from satellite and surface observation. The derrick, a towering superstructure capable of hoisting millions of pounds of weight, designed to handle the drill string and the massive salvage package. The capture vehicle, Clementine. The true secret was the multi-ton claw-like device codenamed Clementine, built by Lockheed. It was a network of massive articulating fingers designed to descend 3 miles, grapple the pressure-crushed hull of the K-129, and hold on tight. It was a device of breathtaking precision and brutal strength. To maintain secrecy, the Clementine claw was not built at the shipyard. Instead, it was constructed in pieces at a separate, secure facility. Before the Glomar was deployed, the claw was loaded onto a huge submerged barge, towed to a deep-water location off the coast of California, and then lowered through the ship's open moon pool doors and assembled inside the massive hull. The entire operation was conducted out of sight, deep underwater, cementing the Glomar Explorer as the most sophisticated spy ship ever created. By 1974, after 6 years of planning, preparation, and billions in expense, the Hughes Glomar Explorer was ready. Its crew was a mix of unwitting commercial sailors and highly trained CIA technical specialists operating under deep cover. The stage was set for the impossible retrieval.